Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel. It's a cold, blustery morning out here in Nebraska, and it's a weekend, and we've got a special event we're going to, so we're going to take you along for the ride. So what we are headed to is a farm auction here on this fine Saturday morning. They have them pretty regular out here in Nebraska. This auction is an elderly couple who are retired from farming, and they're going to move closer into town and downsize quite a bit. So they're selling all of their equipment and their yard and garden stuff and all that stuff. So I like going to these types of auctions because you can get really good deals on stuff that you need for the homestead. And in the past we've got a lot of good deals there. And in addition to these farm auctions that they have out here, they also here in our county at the fairgrounds, they have consignment auctions about 4 times a year. Sometimes it's like tractor equipment, those are 2 times a year, and sometimes it's like household and garden type stuff. So if you want to outfit your home, that's a really cheap way to do it. So we're going to go get some of this stuff. Right now we're stuck by the coal train. Got a mile-long coal train coming out of Wyoming. There's a big hole in Wyoming somewhere because these trains come by about every 10 minutes, and they've been doing this for as long as I can remember. But this is good Wyoming coal. Now, how Wyoming coal differs from like the coal back east is this coal is really powdery, and what they do is they pulverize it down into a real fine powder, and then they blow it into the furnace as a powder, and it burns super clean, hardly no emissions at all. So people that are telling you coal is dirty, they don't know much about the process, but man, it's a lot of coal. All right, now we can go. Now this farm we're going to, I've been here before, back when I used to help my uncle farm out here in Nebraska during planting season. This fellow was the local seed corn dealer. He had all the seed corn that everybody uses here locally in his warehouse there on his place, and whenever you need seed corn, you'd go to him. He dealt with all that, and I'd met him a few times. Nice old gentleman. I remember my uncle introduced me and said, yeah, this is my nephew from California. And he said, well, we don't mind California folks visiting, but you need to take your ass on home when you're done. Now, he wasn't a mean guy by any stretch of the sense. In fact, the more I dealt with him, because I would go get corn from my uncle while he planted, I would run and get everything he needed, fertilizer, corn, and all that, and I really enjoyed doing that while I was out here. The more I dealt with him, he warmed up to me, and by the time he got to know me, he said, oh, you're all right, you can stay a while if you want. But most people out in the Midwest kind of think California is one big sane bunch of people, but there's a lot of good people in California. Most of California is all farmland and very conservative people like we have here in the Midwest. Unfortunately, they don't get a say in how that state is run because they're always outvoted by people in LA, San Francisco, Sacramento. But the farmers out there are kind of a minority, but there's still a lot of good folks out there in California. Now, the company that does these auctions, pretty much the same outfit here in our county that does a lot of them, and they're a real good company to deal with. These they'll come into your farm if you're doing a whole farm auction, and they'll categorize everything, separate everything real nice, and do a real nice job of putting these auctions on. And unlike some auction companies, these folks are local folks, and they care about the people that they're selling these items for. Like when they do the consignment auctions down in town at the fairgrounds, it's usually a whole bunch of different people that bring stuff to that auction. And if the families fell on hard times, or they've had some medical issues in the families why they're selling a lot of stuff, they give everybody the story and let you know things about the family, so you're not afraid of bidding a little bit more to help that family out. It's a real nice operation, and they care about the people that they're dealing with. Now, when we purchased our home here in Nebraska, the gentleman that owned the place before we did, real nice guy, we love him. He was getting up in age where he couldn't handle the farm, is why he wanted to move into town. And he and his wife had collected lots of stuff over the years, as a lot of the elderly generation has. My mom did the same thing. They've been through the Depression, and they don't let go of things as easy as your younger generation does. So they had accumulated a lot of stuff. And when we purchased that ground, the same auction company, his wife's actually the realtor that sold us our house. So it's kind of a good combination, him and his wife. He had his people, he had a crew come in and load up all the stuff that this gentleman wasn't moving on to his next house, which was quite a bit of stuff. They were there for a good couple weeks, loading items up for a consignment auction later on. And they'd also loaded up some equipment that was sold at the equipment auction in town as well. So that's another service they provide. They come out in and load stuff up, and then they store it until the consignment auction. Now, they just take a percentage of the final tally on these items. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm sure it's pretty fair, knowing what these people go through and the amount of work that they do. I'm sure it's pretty reasonable. And like I said, real good couple. We really like them. Nice local folks. Got in behind the sander truck. We had a little bit of rain, sleet, snow stuff going on this morning. It's about 32 degrees here, which is kind of a heat wave for Nebraska during the winter. So it's not that cold, and the wind's not blowing very much today, so that's going to be very nice, because when the wind blows and it's cold, that's when it gets really cold. Now, they have these auctions rain or shine. I think today would probably be more like snow or shine, but you got to make sure you're dressed for it. And I always bring a chair too, so like if they get into a big trailer full of tools and stuff like that, they'll put it all on a trailer, and then they'll pull it out of the building during auction time. I can sit in my chair and instead of standing around all day, because your feet get to hurting, because it's pretty much an all-day event. We're almost there. We're off on the side road now. We have arrived. We've got a bunch of tractors for sale. Now, they usually let you come about an hour early, which we are, and they even let you come in the night before, do a little preview so you can walk around and see items that you're interested in. So we're going to walk around, we're going to take a look. Got a whole bunch of John Deere equipment. Apparently he was a John Deere fan. We got an old Stingray Corvette here. Some big rig trucks, tractors as they're called. Some pickups. Looks like we got a forklift down on the end. Now, you might wonder why one would need so many pickups on a farm. And I found here in Nebraska that when farmers get new pickups, they don't get rid of their old pickups. They keep them. And usually they'll designate a pickup for each job. So like there'll be a pickup for moving hay, there'll be a pickup for fixing fence, there'll be a pickup for delivering cake out to the pasture for the cows. So they use them for a lot of different purposes, and they usually got 5 or 6 pickups around the ranch. There's a Honda Rubicon. Looks to be that it could be cleaned up a little bit. It's got a tore up seat, but most things do. But when this auctions, they'll tell you whether it runs and drives or not. If it goes for the right price, it might be a good deal. Got a cattle trailer down there. They call them cattle pots. Got 2 hopper bottom trailers, bobtail truck, 2 cattle or horse trailers, whatever you want to call them. Looks to be an old like camp trailer frame or something there that you could turn into something fairly easily. They probably hauled irrigation pipe on it or something. And then there's a big, I believe a 12-row planter or more. And then another old trailer, a big hay hauling trailer that hauls the big round bales. You load them on there and then you can dump them right off of that trailer. Got some big 3-point bale spears here. Got a couple old bobtail trucks. Those are pretty much scrap. Somebody will take the box off and maybe the hydraulic hoist, fuel tank, stuff like that, and then scrap the rest. It's an old like silage trailer here. Blows silage in there from the chopper, and then this whole thing dumps out. And got an old harrow here, an old-timey hay rake, old dump rake. You would pull that behind horses or an old tractor. You sit on that seat, and those teeth, you lower them down and they gather the hay, and then you can put it into windrows. You go till wherever your row is, then you pull a handle and that rake trips up, dumps all the hay, and you can make a big long row that way. Here's a seed tender here. Doesn't look like much without the boxes on it, but the big plastic pro boxes of seed go on here, and then there's an auger underneath, and then you can load your planter with this thing. Now this thing here looks like a little disc, but it's actually a pivot track closer. These big fields you see with pivots in them, like this one over here, that's a pivot way out there. But those pivot towers got wheels on them, and those wheels leave tracks in the field, and they get pretty pronounced sometimes. So you can come in with this item here and close those pivot tracks in between crops, and keeps there from being such a big ditch. Got a big 3-point ripper. You'd need a pretty good size tractor to pull that. Now here's an old farmall tractor with a loader frame on it. This is how they used to make loaders. There'd be a huge frame on here instead of the loaders they have now that are just mounted to the frame of the tractor. But that's how they made loaders back in the day. Now this little unit here they call wagon gear, because it's got all your stuff you need for a wagon. It's got the steering front end that steers as the tongue moves around. These front wheels steer. So what you'd do is you'd put big wooden beams on there, and then you could put cross beams for your wooden deck on your trailer. You can turn this into a wagon trailer or whatever. I've been wanting one of these. We'll see how much this goes for. I would shorten it up a little bit, make a little wagon to run around the property with and haul stuff like tree limbs and stuff like that. Got an old tri-hole boat here, probably ready for the scrap heap. Somebody might want to rebuild it. Got 3 nice old manure spreaders here, some better than others. All 3 probably need to be rebuilt. Pretty neat little units. If you've never seen these before, you'd fill this area here with manure, and then it's got a chain on the bottom that drags all the manure to the back, and those beaters beat it all up, and then there's a thing in the back that slings it around, and it's all driven by the wheels here. As you pull it through the field, those wheels drive all of this mechanism. Got some old spring harrows, spring tooths they call them. Another old wagon with the deck on it. Some bale spears, a couple old forklifts. There's an old Ford tractor, I believe. I believe it's a Ford. It might be a Ferguson. But it's got a sickle mower on the back. If you've never seen a sickle mower, that's what this long thing is here. It actually folds out, and then it's got little teeth that cut your hay. So let's see what brand tractor this is. It's a Ford, probably an 8N or 9N Ford. Old John Deere payloader. Another drag harrow here. What this thing does is when you have cattle out on the field, they naturally fertilize the field, and you'll drag this through the field. Like if you have pasture, it breaks up all those cow pies where they can be start decomposing in the ground and be good fertilizer, because you don't want the big piles laying in the field. You want to break them up. Now this thing here is an old bale loader. Once you get it to the field, this thing stands up, and then you would connect this to the side of a trailer or a truck, and then the bales, you drive through the field, the bale would come in there and it would be caught by the chain, and they'd raise the bale up, and it would dump the bale out up on top. If you had a trailer or a truck, spits the bale out here up onto the trailer. But this is the lying down transport position. Now you would, like I said, you'd stand it up to run it in the field. An old 5-bottom plow, an old disc here, big earth mover trailer back there in the back. Got some smalls over here in this area. This is where I like to go look, over there. Got 3 trailers full of smalls here. The lots and lots of shop stuff they'll put on trailers and haul it out here, and then they'll spend an hour probably on each one of these trailers, auction it off. But lots of nice little small stuff if you know what you're looking for. Got a nice Peter Wright anvil here. A lot of nice cords. There's a big 100-foot long 220 cord over there that probably go a lot cheaper than you can get at the store. Got a bunch of old service manuals and welding tanks and tools, all kinds of stuff. Some concrete tools there, an old gas pump nozzle, some welding tank hoses there, big spools of rope, some cable winches, a whole bunch of hold down ratchet straps that you never have too many of, welders, weed eaters, ropes, ladders, every garden tool you can imagine. And you'll get this stuff for pennies on the dollar. Got a whole set of lathe tools here, air ratchets, punches, chisels, screwdrivers, saw blades, sockets, ratchets, wrenches. I might be a player on that big grinder over there. I don't have a big one. Cut off saws. There's a big old 1-inch air ratchet over there. I might be a player on some of these bigger wrenches. I don't have a big set. And maybe this puller here. Actually, there's 2 pullers here. All kinds of drill bits. There's an electric branding iron there. Old DeWalt set over there. You name it, it's here, folks. There's a fence stretcher for stretching wire on the fence. There's a dehorner thing there that cuts horns off the cattle. Scotch-Brite pads. There's a de-icer for a water tank, keeps your water trough from freezing over. Whole bucket full of electric fence insulators. That'd cost you a few $100s if you were to buy all those downtown. Probably go for $2 here. All kinds of paints and lubricants, miter box saw, leather punch, little shop stool there. Little hole punch down there on that shop stool. Might be a player on that. Here's another little arbor punch right there. All these organizer boxes, all of the drawers are full in those. So you not only get the box, you get everything in the box. But here's that big 220 cord I was telling you about. It's about 100 feet long. I'm going to be a player on that. That way you can get your welder way out where you wouldn't normally need to go. Here's a drawer probably full of nuts, bolts, and Looks like roller chains and all that. Another cabinet full of cotter pins, grease zerks, solderless terminals for doing electrical. We'll see if everything's in here. Look at that. It's even got all the tools. Sweet. That'd be a nice little box to put on the workbench. We'll see what that goes for. The pile of fence posts, they'll probably sell them by the pile. There's another pile here. Some old tore up railroad ties you could use for landscaping. They're not long enough for posts. An old backpack spray rig. There's a lot of folks that use these around for firefighting. They'll throw these in the back of their trucks if there's a wildland fire out here, and they'll go help put the fire out. Or if they're doing a controlled burn of their own. You can see it's got the hose reel, pump and everything. Called it a skid mount back in the day. Some old fuel tanks. Got some old trailers. Got a trap wagon over there, which is a portable diesel tank wagon that you take out in the field to fill your combines and your tractors. Got a couple balers over there, feed wagon, a disc. Looks like there's some small shop equipment down there on the end we're going to look at. And we got some more smalls down here on this end. That's trailer and pile of, if you run an electric fence, all your posts. A big pile of T-posts over there. We're going to go look at some of this stuff. Yeah, nice little 3-point blade, but I already have one of these. Barbed wire, another lot nicer sickle mower there. Could not tell you what this thing here is. Here is a 3-point for your tractor post hole digger. I've already got one of these as well, but this will be a real good buy for somebody that's got some post holes to dig. Got a portable cattle chute here for loading out the big cattle trailers. You can haul it to wherever location you're in and then set it up, and you can load cattle into the big trucks. Another sickle mower. This thing here looks like a tire spreader. You put a tire on there, and then these little dogs here hook on the inside of the tire when it's not on the rim and pulls the tire apart so you can work, like put patches on tires. And it's got those rollers so you can kind of roll the tire around if need be. Haven't seen one of these in years. You step on that pedal down there and it stretches the tire apart so you can work on it. It's a whole pallet full of tire chains, most likely for tractors. There's a little 4-wheeler spray tank there. Pretty handy dandy little piece of equipment. I already got one of those too, otherwise I might be a player on that. Here's some pivot wheel tracks. Keeps you from making such a ditch in the field like we were talking about earlier. They put these tracks on, plus they go through mud better, supposedly. Here's some elevator buckets, still on the belt. A lot of people take these and they unbolt them, and they bolt them to their shop wall for storage bins. People really like those. And then the antique folks love these old metal ones. If you take those off, people buy those up like crazy. If we had a booth at Junk John, I'd buy those and sell them. Don't know what those are. This is an old PTO driven generator with a welder on the trailer. But you hook this up to your tractor and you can generate electricity with your tractor. When the power goes out, you can power your house, your barn, or whatever. Air compressor and a push behind weed whacker. Blower motors. Those would be nice for ventilating the shop. Might see what those go for, but I think they hook those up to smaller grain bins to help dry the corn. Looks like an old sump pump of some sort. Lots of batteries. Old toolbox. I call those the Nebraska toolbox. They go on the side of a flatbed. I never really saw them until I started coming out here, but people really like those types of toolboxes. More tires. an old heater, some irrigation pipe connections, a bunch more copper cable, some plow parts as I call them. These are all pivot tires for pivots. So this is just miscellaneous, like spring tooth parts and stuff like that. And some kind of a little ramp thing, or maybe some kind of windbreak or something. I don't know really what this is. There's a hay mover trailer. You put the hay bales, the big round ones, on that, and then those chains, you can unload the trailer with those chains. The hay bales spit right out the back. These are two grain elevators here that they use to get grain up into grain bins. Old John Deere tractor. It's a propane model. You can tell by the big tank up here on the back. This tractor ran on propane. Nice old blade here. You could make a snow pusher out of this fairly easily. A whole bunch more 220 cable here, a whole pallet full of big 220 welding cable. Somebody's going to get that for steel. There's another 3-point post hole digger, a lot heavier angle blade with hydraulic adjustments. It's for a lot bigger tractor. Ooh, what do we have here? Is this a little 1-row seeder? It appears to be. Might be a player on this as well. It goes decent. Little 1-row planter. Pretty sweet. There's some wheel weights for tractors. There's some really big quick hitches for bigger tractors. Fenders. A couple of old 4-wheelers up here. I don't know if I'd want to mess with these, but somebody that's got a business where they fix those would be good parts machines probably. Go-kart. Ooh, looks to be an old maybe Trail 90 bike. These are pretty sought after bikes nowadays. A lot of people love restoring these things because they're good for people that camp full time. They take these with them on the back of their motor home, then they can tool around with them. Now if you're a welder, you'd be interested in this stack of steel here. There's a lot of money right here in this stack. So I might see what this goes for, because this is a lot of good project steel right here. There's some other little stuff down here, but this lot here would be probably the most valuable to me. This is a engine stand, an old vertical mill here. Press, hydraulic press. Looks like we got a MIG welder over there, an air compressor.
He's got high hopes.
The hot sea, probably steam cleaner here, with all of the attachments and reels. Chain hoist, big heavy chain hoist, like a 5-ton. Nice little sawhorse deal there for welding projects. Snow blower, another PTO generator, some cattle working chute there, all hydraulic. Now, most farmers out here are cattle people too. They got all these cattle panels, got the continuous fencing over here, and then you got all these portable shelters that you'd put out in the pasture, whichever pasture you're using. Or you can put hay bales in there to keep them out, or the cattle can just go in there. But awfully big units. But if you got big tractors, you can move these around. Got a big blower motor there, shop vac, bunch of roller chain, some nice spindles and stuff there. There's a cool 3-point top link adjustable wheel on it. A couple more sump pumps here, some more plow parts, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff, and then nice little 4-row planter, old school, and then two square balers here. Well, we're going to go over to the trailer over there and get our auction number. Alright, we've acquired our number. That trailer where you see people lined up, that is the records trailer where you register. And then at the end of the auction, or whenever you leave during the auction, you go there and pay for your items, usually cash or check only. They still take checks here in Nebraska. It's pretty cool. Now this little trailer behind the pickup, that is a mobile auctioneer's booth. So he stays nice and comfortable in there with his scribe. So they'll drive around down these lanes where all the items are parked, and he'll auction those off. He's got a helper that's out on the ground that'll hold things up and stuff like that. But the scribe in there with him takes down the people's numbers as they buy, and then every now and then they'll have a runner that goes back to the records trailer and takes the record of what you bought, and they'll write it down on your numbered card. So when you check out, they have all of your items. And then they also bring a food trailer out, different vendors on different days. But you can get your coffee, whatever you need, barbecue sandwich or whatever, because you're pretty much out here all day. And then they got porta potties over there, so you can use the restroom. But it's pretty well thought out, and it runs pretty smooth. Now, we were just informed that there's stuff up here in this Quonset as well, so we're going to come up here and take a look. A lot of old oil cans for oil can collectors. This appears to be an old corn cleaning machine here. Coca-Cola cooler. There's some antiques there. Too bad that old clock's been out in kind of the weather. Well, that's a nice old true 1x12 lumber. Wow, anybody building furniture, that would be a gold mine right there. Pallet of barbed wire. Old spreader.
I got to beat you up. They said, oh, the road's coming on right here. Perfect. All those hills. Did they have them sanded? I don't know. They're so close to
Old one bottom plow. Pulled behind a horse. Some old windmill sections. Those will go for about $75 a piece at Junk Jaunt, but you probably damn near give them away here. There's an old hay fork that they used to use in the barns with the hay trolley that went up in the peak. That would grab the hay, and then you'd pull it up into the barn, and then it would release the hay up into the barn. Pretty neat. Some old metal wheels. Some kind of corn on the cob. Might be popcorn or something. Old burlap sacks. People collect these things. If you remember that grinder wheel we just refurbished, that's a frame for one of those. There's some old tack. There's some of the stuff they use for horse-drawn stuff. Lots of old leather here. These are gearboxes for pivots. And there's a bunch of red lava rock, probably for landscaping, whole pallet full of it. Another trailer full of smalls. Got some old water pumps here. Some old light fixtures, those go for a lot of money at antique stores. Some old finger joint boxes are pretty cool. Some old kegs full of stuff. Old Phillips 66 oil can. These are the old oil jars you'd use for bulk oil. You'd put it in the jar, screw that on and put it in your tractor. Here's an old spiral hole digger, a little auger. Some old bottles. It's an old surveyor stick that you can't read anymore. This is the handle to an old plow. Ooh, there's a corn sheller. I'm a player on that. Some old torches. Little old wagon, cute little thing. A bunch of miscellaneous old antique tools, some hubcaps. Some old tin boxes and some old antique glass. Here's a nice old unit there. Old coolers. Mason jars. Everybody was looking for those a couple years ago, or a year or so ago. There's some old case of jars unopened. The old retro style Christmas lights. A whole bunch of bulbs. Christmas trees. A bunch of nice lumber, 2x4s, 1x4s. Be a nice little lot there. Some neat old iron shelf brackets. Those would be cool to have. These are old ice skates that you strap to your shoes. Go ice skating with your regular shoes. But this thing, if you've never seen it before, is for when you're weaning calves. You put that on the nose of your calf and attach it to their head. They go in, it pokes mama, and then mama don't tolerate that and keeps the calf away. So start weaning your calves. Got some cool old jacks here. These are the old precursor to the high lift jack. You got 3 different jack levels. I bought one of these at Junk John a couple of years ago. Here's a neat old 50-pound weight. If you've got to weigh something down, that'd be really handy.
I got 5 bid now, 750. I'm going to get a 5, 1, 7, I got a 5, you know, going to be 7, I got a 750. Sold $5.46, is it? 46 is the winner. 46 is the winner. Speed wrenches, and all right, get it here, 2 number 5, get it 2 number, get it 5, grab something else, Austin, get it 2 number, get it 5, get it 2 number, get it 5, get it 2 number, get it 3, and the hammers, all to go, 3, 4, out of the 3, number, get it 4, all to go, got it 3, number, get it 4, I'm 3, number, 4, I'm 3, number, get it 4, 3, number, get it 4, dollar, get it 3, number, 1, number, grab something else, I'm at 3, 4, I get $3, and 4, down, got it 3 here, now, and a little jack, and $3, but it didn't get it $4, and a little funnel, got it 3 here, $4 bill, now, got it 3, number, get it 4, I'm 3 here now, $4, I'm number, get it 3, number, oh, that's it, let's go, number, get it 2, number, $2. Who can we back for it? Yes or no? Gotta go. $1, $1, grab something else. Grab something else. Panel heads, that'll do it. Now we'll get you out. No, everything they got in their hand. $1 bill 2. And 3, down 3, but the 4. I'm pouring left here. Sold for $4.59. $4.59.
All that stuff for $4.
Brass hammers. Now I get 2. I'm going to be 5. And I get 2. 40, 42. Okay, so $40, put it on 119. Thank you, man. 119.
That's the steel for 2 sets of gauges and hoses for oxy-acetylene rigs. All right, they're all done with the smalls. I just got all my stuff loaded in the truck out here. You can see there's many more people here now. They're going to start auctioning off the big equipment. There's only a couple items we're going to look at. The frozen ground this morning has turned into an absolute slop hole out here, and I didn't bring my muck boots. As they sell stuff on the road, they just drive forward with the pickup and go to the next item.
I got 5 million in, 400 and a half, and 450, 400 and a half, and 50, 400 and 425, 425, 425, everybody done? 425, Sold, 400 bucks my way.
All right, we got all settled up and are headed out. We didn't have to stay all day. We're out by 3:30, which I guess that's kind of a long day. You can tell by my window here that it was a sloppy, muddy mess once everything warmed up and melted. It's 51 degrees now. It was 32 this morning. So all the ice and everything melted. So we're going to roll home, and when we get home, we'll show you our loot. All right, we have made it safely back home. I had to go through the car wash because the truck had mud all over it. It was a sloppy mess out there. So let's see what we got. So we got some heavy-duty ratchet straps. These are nice to have around when you're hauling larger stuff. We got those only for a couple bucks, I think. Got a 12-foot nice 3/8 chain here with hooks on both ends. Always good to have to be lifting stuff around the farm. I got that for a couple bucks. I got both of these boxes for $1.50 combined. Got some old spanner wrenches. Got some old rock drilling bits. Got 2 of those. And then a big heavy chisel and pry bar. Piece of an old wrench. That's just scrap iron there. Got some drift punches. We can straighten that one out, no problem. Some assorted Sawzall bits. Got a masonry bit there. Whole bunch of chuck keys of various sizes, because you never can tell if you get a drill or something. It's got all different size chuck keys. We got another small little hole saw we can add to our hole saw kit. Now we got some stakes just for $1 or $2. These are like for concrete, or you can use them in the garden or whatever. And speaking of concrete, I didn't have any very good selection of concrete tools. I had a little 4-inch trowel, which if you remember our grain bin video, I did that whole concrete slab with a little 4-inch trowel. Now I got some trowels that we can work with. I've got 5 different sizes of like masonry trowels there. I got a groover, got a corner jig. I already had one of these, but this is a nice heavy duty one. Got a corner trowel for doing corners, so that was cool. I didn't have any big end wrenches above 1 inch, so got a nice little set there for $1.50. I got this big 50-pound weight. I always in the shop I need weight to like hold stuff down when we're gluing stuff or anything like that. So this weight will come in handy. If not, it makes a good doorstop. Got a brand new 12-inch blade for our chop saw. We have a really nice jack that still works really good. It didn't come with the piece that welds onto the trailer, but you can buy those separately at the farm store. So not a big deal. And then my favorite piece is right here. Got us a hand crank corn sheller. See the teeth in there? You shove a cob of corn in there, it knocks the kernels off as you turn the crank. This will be a real good pair to our corn grinder that we got here the other day. So that'll be sweet. And then we got one more surprise item. We bought a utility trailer. The price was right on this thing. This was one of the trailers that they had a bunch of tools on that they sold this morning. But then after all the tools were gone, they sell the trailers also that the tools are on. Now, we often go get stuff like lumber and stuff like that. It's too large for our little utility trailer, and we obviously can't fit it in our pickup. So we've had to borrow trailers in the past to haul longer lumber and stuff like that. So now we have a trailer, we can haul our own lumber. It doesn't have brakes, but it does have the flange for the brake backing plate. So if we ever want to put brakes on this, we can. And the axle is actually wired for brakes already. The fenders are missing because that's generally the first thing that goes when people blow a tire on their trailers. It rips the fenders off. But that's why you got to make sure the pressure in your tire is good so you don't have that issue. So we'll get some metal fenders and weld back on here. Now this trailer has the spring-loaded ramps. It's got a full width ramp in the back that is spring loaded, so it helps when you raise it up and down. And it also has a side ramp, so if you're hauling four-wheelers or side-by-sides or something like that, you can actually drive one on the front and then drive one or two on the back. So it's nice having that little side ramp over there too. And there's some little issues with this trailer. There's some little bent things here and there, like this front rail is bent, but you know we can straighten that really easy. And then the wiring plug has been cut off, so we're going to have to redo the wiring and plug the lights back in, because we're not street legal without the lights. But real nice trailer, and like I said, the price was right. We probably got it for what, a quarter of what you'd buy it brand new. But it's had some reinforcement done. You can see people have welded some square tubing in here where you drive up on the trailer. And there's been something that caught the ramp at some point, but I already have the expanded metal in the shop to fix that. I'll just put a little new section in there. Won't be a problem at all. And then I think that rail over here is bent. But again, a couple whacks with a sledgehammer, that'll be straight again. But real happy with this trailer. We're going to get a lot of use out of it. Going to be pretty cool. The other thing I'm going to do, the latches down here on the ramp are so far forward that the ramp tilts out. And driving down the road, that bugs me looking at that in the mirror. So I'm going to move those latches back to where this ramp stands straight up and down in travel mode. And that's easy enough to do. It looks like somebody's been monkeying with this ramp already, but we'll move this back and then we'll reinforce it around here. And so this thing stands straight up and down. But it just got a little tractor pin in there that holds it closed. So all in all, we made a really good haul today at the auction. We got some really good deals. There was lots of people there today, but even with that, we were able to get some nice deals. So sometimes this is just kind of a Midwest thing, because I know out in California, we really didn't have auctions. They had estate sales. And I do not like going to those, because basically what they do is they open the gate and everybody runs in there and grabs whatever they want to buy. And people want to fist fight you for stuff. The auction's the way to go. That way the person that wants it the most gets it. So hope you enjoyed our little auction trip today. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. I need to unload this stuff and get it in the shop. So we'll see you next time here on Mark Kelly Farm.